All right, Akim. Shalom, shalom, Shabbat, shalom. First and foremost, let's give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Ruach Kodash, double honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone, for teaching us this truth. Salutations to the sincere Akim and Aqua that may listen. May the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Brother Akwai. I'm back in here with another quick Lord's will, as always, an edifying lesson. And for today's lesson, I have it on the screen. Is the importance of being under a wise king. And I was just meditating on this quick chapter that I was going through, and I'm just going to be going through one of our forefathers, right, and just paralleling some of these particular things that they did, and just going through some of the things that they did and how you see those similar behaviors essentially exist today. And as always, Yahweh willing, that this lesson may be edifying. So before I start, let me just go to Romans, because it's always good to just go through different accounts, right, and extrapolate, and it gives you more understanding of how our people are today, as well as it gives you more understanding of virtues you can actually extract, right? Some of the things that our forefathers did in particular situations that we can actually use and actually apply to our daily lives, to our daily walk, to have a richer relationship with Yahweh B'Ashem Yahweh Shai, as well as some of the things that this is something that you don't you stay away from doing, essentially, right? So first off, let me start off with Romans chapter 15 verse 4. So it says, "For whatsoever things that were written before time were written for our learning, that through patience and comfort of the scriptures we might have hope," right? So we hope to be able to actually be delivered from this hellish situation that we're living in, right? And we're acquiring different traits and get more understanding, so we can be that virtuous woman, the hopeful elect, where we can actually be delivered from this particular situation, right? Because 2/3 of our people are destined to be cut off and die. So let me jump to the account. So I'm probably going to read it a little bit in the NLT, so just bear with me on this one. Okay, so the account I'm just going to go through is King Manasseh of Judah. So just for a little context, he was the king that essentially succeeded King Hezekiah, and King Hezekiah was known as one of those very few righteous kings that reigned over the southern kingdom, right? So this is 2 Chronicles 33 verse 1, and it says, "Manasseh was 12 years old when he became king, and reigned in Jerusalem 55 years. And he did what was evil in the Lord's sight, following the detestable practices of the pagan nations that the Lord Yahweh had driven from the land ahead of the Israelites. He built pagan shrines his father Hezekiah had broken down. He constructed altars for the images of Baal, and set up Asherah poles. He also bowed before all the powers of the heavens and worshipped them." So in the KJV, it says he built again the high places which Hezekiah his father had broken down, and reared up the altars of Baalim, and made groves, and worship all the hosts of heaven, right? So he was going into all these different customs of other gods and all their different practices, essentially, right? And we know the Lord Yahweh is a jealous power that doesn't want us to be worshiping other particular gods, right? And you see this very same sentiment that that our people essentially do to this day, right? And these pagan traditions, they come under the guise of these different religions, in different forms, because our people don't know, as well as a lot of our people do know. And like one of my elders always says, they're willfully ignorant because, they know that some of these traditions, like for example, Christmas, whether it's Easter, whether it's, what example, like Ramadan and, all these different traditions, our people celebrate these particular things, but they don't actually know the root and where these things actually go back to. And then you have a bunch of our people who know these particular traditions are pagan, are satanic, but yet for all they don't actually cut off those traditions. Essentially, even worshiping your birthdays as well is essentially satanic, right? Because you're putting yourself as an idol. As a matter of fact, let me keep going, then I'll get a precept. So verse 4, it says in the NLT, he built pagan altars in the temple of the Lord Yahweh, and place where the Lord had said, my name will remain in Jerusalem forever. For he built these altars, all for the powers of the heavens, and in both country yards in the Lord's temple. So let me get 2 precepts. So the first precept I want to get, Jeremiah. There we go. Let's bear with me on this. Jeremiah 10 verse 1, and it says, hear ye the word of the Lord Yahweh, which speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Verse 2, thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. And a good example of that is that, what's that called? That eclipse that occurred a couple weeks ago. A lot of our people, especially our people, and even these heathens as well, they're very, very dismayed at these different signs in the heavens, essentially, right? And what they do as well in their particular so-called culture, they associate it to, multiple different gods. That's where you get the word polytheistic. So poly meaning multiple, and theism going back to theistic, going back to theism. So believing in a power, a higher power, essentially. So that's what, and I know one of the religions that's popular for this is so-called Hinduism, and they believe in all these multiple different gods. Even the, for example, the Muslims, prior to the so-called Muslim revolution, they were worshiping, if I'm not mistaken, they had about 300 different gods for every day of the year, prior to, their so-called prophet Muhammad, right? So they were worshiping a lot of these pagan traditions and pagan idols, right? Verse 3, so it says, for the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, and work the hands of the workman with an axe. So they worship these different, particular, what's it called? The things that Yahweh Bashem Yahushai has created, whether it's the swift air. As a matter of fact, let me get that. Because it says the heathen are vain. Was it Wisdom of Solomon? Oh, it is Wisdom of Solomon. Okay, Wisdom of Solomon 13 verse 1, and it says, surely vain are all men by nature, who are ignorant of Yahweh, and could not out of the things that are seen know him that is, neither by considering the works. So, right, good example of that is, for example, the eclipse, right? And these people are dismayed at these particular things. Neither by considering the works they acknowledge. Neither by considering the works did they acknowledge Neither by considering the works did they acknowledge the work master, right? So they don't acknowledge the Most High for the being that one power that's doing these things. Verse 2, it says, but deemed either fire or wind or the swift air or the circle of the stars or the violent water or the lights of the heaven to be the gods that govern the world, right? So they, they associated with all these different, multiple gods that are controlling. There's a wind god, there's a sun god, there's a god of war, and the Romans, they were very, very well known for that, right? So when you look at the days of the week and the months of the year, they're all associated to multiple different, gods, right? And you see that vibration today, and that comes in the form of like, the so-called like astrology, and then this, worshiping the stars, what's your star sign? Like a lot of women are very, very into these things, right? And a lot of them are on low level, they're witches, right? And scriptures say, no, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live, right? So now here you have, not to go too off topic, but now we have a king who's doing these particular things. And this is what causes a lot of the times when you have bad leadership like this, you have, our people are sheep, right? They're sottish children. So this causes our people to essentially go off, right? And this is the same thing that has happened when you read throughout Judges, right? And our people went back to doing the same particular, things, when a judge would rescue them from their hellish situation that the Lord put on them by using these other nations as a whipping stick. And then when they were rescued, they went back into doing their particular, off practices, their sins essentially, right? So verse 6, it says, Manasseh also sacrificed his sons in the fire and the valley of Ben Hinnom. He practiced sorcery, divination, and witchcraft, and consulted with mediums and the psychics. And a good example of that is another king who did this was King Saul, right? And Lord's will, later on in the week, I will do a lesson on that as well, because this is something that is very common amongst our people. And something I've noticed common, within, especially in the city of Toronto, people, there's fortune tellers, tell me your star sign, tell me, and then they have tarot card reading and all these different demonic images that people normally go to so our people can get some kind of answer, right? They don't have that relationship with the Heavenly Father through his son Yahweh Shai, an extension from the prophets, to be able to actually get information and get inside scoop of how they should actually properly serve him. They don't do that. They don't seek the prophets, right? So they're seeking knowledge from the left-hand side, essentially. Continuing on, it says, he did much that was evil in the Lord's sight, arousing his anger. As a matter of fact, let me get a precept on that. I believe it's Leviticus. Bear with me on this. I forgot where it is. Okay, Leviticus 18 and 21. It says, And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech, neither thou shalt profane the name of the Most High Yahweh. I am the Lord thy power, right? And this is one of the things that we're not supposed to do, but our people are very caught up in this, and this is a common sentiment, especially when you find with celebrities. They pass through their family members, so essentially they're sacrificing their family members, to all these different gods, right? And that's common, like, and there's a plethora of different celebrities that have done this, whether it's their parents, whether it's their actual children, whether it's a distant family member. I know there was a rapper named A$AP Rocky, for example. He came out in an interview saying that every time he put out a music album, he always lost a family member. Like, there's no such thing as a coincidence. And you realize that people have to do these particular things to get, that fame and those riches and so on and so forth. Like the scriptures say that, riches don't profit in a day of wrath, right? But so now you see the actual importance of being under a wise king, right? Those traits, it's so important for us to actually see those examples and see those traits. Like we see the way and Yahushua conducted himself when you read through the Gospels, and that you can extract the different virtues that he exemplified. Like mercy, for example, compassion. He was very austere, but he showed that we needed him. We needed he one of the things I think about sometimes is that he simplified the commandments, right? I think it's in Matthew 22, right? And so you see those different virtues, and you see these different virtues played out with different righteous forefathers, right? But today, when you look at our people as a whole, as a nation, we don't have that righteous leadership, and this is not this is the vibration that Esau comes under, kind of like this king I'm reading, because what Esau does, he doesn't keep the law, statutes, and commandments, and the scriptures talk about how when the righteous are authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn, and the people are in a state of mourning. We have wars and rumors of wars. The air is polluted, the waters are polluted, and the list goes on, right? But continuing on, okay, I'll read this, and then I'll read a couple more, and then I'll just wrap it up. Verse 7, it says, Manasseh even took a carved idol he had made and set it up in Yahweh's temple, the very place where Yahweh had told David and his son Solomon, my name will be honored forever in the temple and in Jerusalem, and the city that I have chosen from among all the tribes of Israel. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just kind of stop right there. I don't want to make the lesson too long, but you can see essentially what I wanted to bring out was the fact that you see the way an unrighteous king lives, and kind of like, and Esau is coming in that similar vibration, right? And not keeping these law, statutes, and commandments. When they do their secret councils and the secret meetings, they're not actually, they seek that counsel essentially from the left-hand side. And that's why a lot of the things that they push forth, the vibration that they push forth, through the food, through the air, the water, it's all about, it doesn't bring forth life, it just brings forth death, even down to the very fabric that is on your very skin at the moment, right? Because a lot of the fabrics, just as an example, a lot of the fabrics that we wear is mixed fabrics. It's not actually, this is this and this is separate from this. Everything is kind of mixed. He's mixing animals. The list really goes on, essentially, right? But okay, let me get Sirach. Just bear with me on this. Okay, Sirach 10 verse 1, and it says, a wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. And the judge of the people is himself. So are his officers, and what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all that they that dwell therein. Verse 3, here's the point. An unwise king destroyeth his people. So you can see the after effects of our people following under this king Manasseh, and especially you see the after effects of our people following this vibration under Esau, right? In Babylon the Great, we take on these particular customs. Because look at our people, like when you just look at the music industry as a whole and the things that our people have to do, the sodomite behaviors that they have to engage themselves with to actually get so-called riches, because the riches and the money are not backed by anything. It's just it's based on absolutely nothing, right? So you have a society that is not run in righteousness. Verse 3, I'll just read this again. It says, an unwise king destroyeth his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited, right? And America will be soon inhabited, because it will be completely crumbled and wiped off the face of the planet, right? It's not a place that would ever be inhabited, because this is the vibration that it pushes forth. It pushes forth unrighteousness, where a lot of these other nations are like waking up and realizing, my goodness, they're realizing, this nation is filthy, it's wicked, right? And they don't want that. Essentially, they don't want that that wine spilling off in their nations. They don't want those philosophies. When you read about Jeremiah 51:7 coming down, they don't want that those philosophies trickling into their essentially their children, right? They don't want those trickling into the minds of their women, right? And this is why a lot of these nations hate that. They hate Babylon. They hate America. There was one more I wanted to get. Okay, let me go back to wisdom. Okay, it's Wisdom of Solomon 6:20. It says, therefore the desire of wisdom bringeth to a kingdom. If your delight then be in thrones and scepters, O kings of the people, honor wisdom, that ye may reign forevermore. Right? And one of the reasons I wanted to bring this out is to see the value and understanding the importance of wisdom, and the cornerstone of that is fear. Right? And it's understanding, like, okay, this is how righteous judges bring forth righteousness and let that flourish on the earth. What flourishes from that is actual life, because life is able to continue. But the system that we're under, we live in a system that it doesn't bring forth any righteousness. It just brings forth death, decay, short lifespans, birth defects, so on and so forth, like things that people might think that are normal, but it's actually not normal at all. So anyways, I think I'll end it off here, but hopefully this video was edifying, and I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, Bashem Kodash. Honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone, for teaching us his truth. Till next time, I say Shalom.